Hey, how's it going, folks? This is Hellbent, and today I'm going to release the third part in a set of custom controls that I had made recently. This time it is the radio button class. So in this video we're going to go through everything you need to know in order to use this. It's very easy. If you already know how to use a regular radio button, it's almost identical. I mean, the code looks a little bit different. There's some things you have to paste in, but other than that, using it is just as easy, if not easier. So let's go through it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set myself up a little script. Single instance, force. I'm going to make a little window. Make it always on top so that way it stays up on my screen. Why did it do that? That was weird. I don't know what's going on. Always on top. I'll make a background color. This control's designed, actually the whole set's designed for a darker themed GUI, so you can probably play around with lighter colors, but I don't know how they're going to look because I haven't played around with seeing what it looks like on a white background or whatever. So the only way you'll know if it looks good on a lighter background is try. I'll make a background of 444444. No, that's a little bit too light. I'll go 40 40 40. And then I'm just gonna show the window. I'll make a window about 400 pixels wide and 300 pixels tall, and I'll just call it radio demo. I'll also add in a button. This class, unlike the checkbox or switch class that I had released where you could optionally have it trigger a label, I haven't added that into this. If you know how to, you can go ahead and add it into it, but most of the time with a radio control you're not going to be directly executing code as soon as you press on it. It's just you're just going to be updating the value of the variable associated with it to get those ones and zeros or whatever. So this you don't attach it to a label. But like I said, if you know how to manipulate the class, you can add in an extra argument into the constructor and create it. Oh yeah, I wanted to add a button. So I'm going to add a button so that way when I press the button it's going to execute, check out what the values of my radio buttons are, and then do whatever I want them to do. Button, what size did I make my window? I'll do X 290, Y 270, width 100, height 30. And I'll have this test. Have it go to a label called test button, and I'll just put some text on it that says the same. Okay. So now that I'm done with that, I can add in my return, GUI close, and emergency hotkey to exit the script. And then I'll paste in my test button, and for now I'll just have it pop up a tooltip that makes sure everything's working. Okay, let's see what I have. So I should just have a little window that's a light darkish gray color with a button down in the right hand corner. So here I go. Let me see, this should be 60. Okay, there we go. And if I hit this test button, it should execute this code here, which pops up a tooltip that says here. There we go. Okay, so now about using the class. This is created using the radio buttons are created using GDIP or GDI plus. So I need to include either at the top of my script I need to type out include and then give the path to the GDIP library if I have it in my library folder, or if you don't know how to do that or you don't want to, you can just paste it into the script, which is what I'm going to be doing. So if you don't know what I was talking about there, just do it the way that I'm going to be doing it. At the end of this, I'm going to actually release whatever I type out here into a paste, and then you take that paste and then you'll be able to see how I constructed it here, and then whenever you want to create these controls, you just copy and paste the class into your new script and the GDIP library if you need it to. So I need to include the GDIP library. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I've created a reduced version of the GDIP library, which has just all the functions that I need to do drawing. Most of the other functions have been removed, so this, instead of being 2,000, 3,000 lines of code, it's down to like 300, maybe 400 lines of code. Don't worry about if you're not familiar with GDIP or anything about this. Don't worry about it. It's all the code that you type in everyday things. There's stuff that's going on behind the scenes. Like if you actually saw all the code that's associated with the stuff that I just put here, it can be overwhelming. So think of it the same way with this stuff here. Even though this is in your face right here on your page, don't get overwhelmed by it. It's just the stuff that's going to be going on in the background. So I put it way at the bottom of my script, so I never have to touch it. I never have to look at it. It's just once it's in my script, it's there. I don't have to deal with anything. I don't need to call any of these functions. I don't need to do anything with it. It just needs to be here. Now I need to make sure that GDIP is working, so I'm going to call up a function. Well, I just said that you don't have to call any functions, but you do have to call one function, GDIP startup. And this just allows you to be able to start drawing stuff. So I'm going to call that function, which enables me to start using the GDIP functions, which the class is based around, or the control is based around. So next thing, I need the class itself. So this is the only thing that you would need to paste into your code, every script that you create, or you can do it as an include. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. So here's the class. Let me copy this. And once again, I don't need to interact with it, so I can put it way down at the bottom of my script, because I never need to do anything with it. I'm going to show you a few things that you can do to modify it to make a little bit more customization, but it's easy stuff. Okay, so I have my window, and I have my class in it, so I'm ready to go. So the first thing I need to do is create a new instance of my radio buttons. The radio buttons are created in groups, right? That's what a radio button is. You select one, it unselects any other one that was already selected, so you only have, in a group, only one thing can be selected at a time. To do this, I need to create an array. I can name the array anything I want. It makes sense to make it something that's like give it a name that makes sense for what you're going to be doing, because then you're going to reference that array later. So I'm going to create an array. I'm just going to call it options set 1, and I'm going to set it to be an empty array, and now I'm going to add in a couple of radio buttons. So I'm going to come down here to the constructor, and I'm going to get a copy of this right here, because these are all the arguments I need to pass to it. Most of the stuff is already filled in, so all you have to do is just edit it. It's very easy to edit. So I'm just going to paste that in, and I'm going to add my first options. So it's options set 1, and then I'm going to be working with the first element of it. And this is going to equal a new instance of the class. So I need the class's name, which is called flat round radio type 1. So options set 1 equals a new flat radio type 1. Here, let me turn off wrap. I don't like wrap. A new flat radio type 1, and then I have a bunch of arguments that I need to pass to the constructor. So first, x is going to equal, where do I want to position? I'm going to position it at x10, y10. The width, I'm going to need to adjust depending on how much text I add into it. The height, it automatically sizes itself. It's always going to be 19 pixels tall. So you have to pick font size that works with that. Next is okay, so the text I want, I'm going to do option 1. I'm going to make the font Arial, the size 10, I'm going to make it bold. The font color I'm going to leave as white. The window I'm going to be attaching it to. So you've seen how when I was creating my window I added this 1. So this is the window's name. I can give it any name that I want. So if I'm making multiple GUIs at the same time, maybe I have one that's just for, like, it's a little window that does settings. Maybe it's got a bunch of controls on it that deal with settings. So I can name this settings. I'd name all of them settings, and then in here the window that I'm attaching it to wouldn't be 1, it would be settings. But in my case I'm going to be doing to window 1. Background color. The background color is, there's a little bit of an area around. The actual shape of the control is a rectangle. So what I need to do is I need to match the background of the control to be the same as the background for the window, or the portion of the window that I'm working with. So I have the window set to be 40, 40, 40. So my background color is going to be 40, 40, 40. The highlight color is in the middle of the radio button. When you select it, it has a color. There's a little colored circle in the center. This is what you put for that. You can have all your controls having all the same color, or you can mix it up, have different groups that have their own colors, or all the radios within a group have their own color. I'll leave it this color for now, and then I'll adjust it afterwards. The state is, do I want the radio button to be selected or not? So only one per group can be selected. So I'll make the first one to be default selected, and then the other ones I'll set to 0 afterwards. The last thing is I need to pass it the reference to the array that I created. So the array that I created for these controls is option set 1. So I'm going to copy that and paste that. Do I need to pass it? I think I pass it like this. I'm going to pass it like that. I don't think I need the quotes around it. We'll find out in a second. I'm pretty sure I don't need the quotes around it. So I pass it the array, and then I'm good. So now I'm just going to add a couple more of them because I need a group. So I'll do this group to be 3. So this is going to be, the second one is number 2, and then number 3, and then I'm going to go through and edit a few things so that way that sits properly. I'm going to leave them all on about 10 pixels out from the side, but then I'm going to drop them down a little bit. So I'm going to drop the second one to be about 25 pixels below the first one. So I'm going to take the y variable, and I'm going to say plus equals 25. And then I'm going to do the same with the next one. Width, like I said, I have to adjust this afterwards to make sure that the text fits. But for now, let's just get it going. Option 1, option 2, option 3. Fonts all the same. Font size, font color, window same, background same. Highlight color, I'm going to leave them all the same. But the state, this one's going to be 0, and this one's going to be 0. And that's it. Now when I run this, I should have 3 radio buttons on my screen. And there we go. So like I said, the width is only set by default to the size of the control itself. So now I need to make it so that way I can see the text as well. So I'm just going to play around with the width until I get the size that I want. To make it a little bit easier on myself, what I'm going to do for the moment is I'm going to change the background color to be, let's say, red. And then that'll show me exactly how big the control actually is. So right now I can see the red area is the actual size of the control. So I'm going to adjust this maybe 100 pixels. Run it again. And there we go. If I want to, I can shrink this in a little bit, and that's what I'm going to do. Run it again. Okay, so I have my size. Now I'm just going to copy this for the rest of them. 80 pixels. And I can change the background color to be this color again. Alright, so there is my radio buttons. Now let's give them a color for the center of it. So this, what color do I want? I'm going to do a yellow color. So I'll do, I'll make it bright yellow. FFFF00. If you're not familiar with working with this color code, I do have on my channel, if you look in the script section, I do have this color picker, which makes selecting and getting a color very easy. So if I want yellow, for example, it's all red, all green, and then I can clip that, and now that's in my clipboard, and then I can just paste it in. So I'll make the color for them, all of them, yellow. And now whenever one's selected, it gets this yellow color. Maybe I don't want the yellow color, maybe I want some other color, so I'll do this color. Actually, I'll make them all different colors. So I'll make the second one this one, because this is what I was talking about. You can make them, every single control have its own color, or you can make groups of them have their own color, or however you want. And the last one I'll make, let's go with that. Alright, so now if I select this, it's that greenish, bluish color, and then purplish, pinkish color. Okay, same thing goes with the font's color. You can change every single individual one, so maybe I want to have this one with a pink color when I select, or have a pink color. Okay, that's that. Let's go into how we can customize this a little bit more by going into the class. So let's say that what I did recently with the last time I had actually used this class in a project was I made it when I select I had two colors for the text. One for when the control wasn't selected, and then one color for when it was selected. But this isn't part of the built into the options that you pass it to it. So you go into the class itself and make some alterations. So before you do this, make sure you have a backup copy, just in case you mess something up. But in here, down in the class itself, it's got two things where it actually creates the bitmap that does the drawing. One is called create off bitmap. This is what the control looks like when it's not selected. So these two right here. And then the other one is create on bitmap, and that's what it looks like when it is selected. I've already highlighted where the text gets added. So if you look here, I have adding text and then a line to break it up, and then at the end I have this. So this right in here has everything to do with adding the text. So maybe what I want is I actually want to have another line of text underneath it that has a different color to make it look like the text has a little bit of shadowing. So what I'm going to do that is I'm just going to take this line, duplicate it, and then I'm going to take this position that it has and the bottom layer, and I'm going to move it up and to the right 1 pixel. So I'm going to go down to x22 and y -1. And I'm going to, instead of using C be equal to the brush color that I'm using, which is the color of my text, instead of doing that, I'm going to get rid of the quote there, and then the brush, and then the last quote there. I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm just going to hard code black 000000. Now when I run this, it'll be hard to see because I'm using a really small font, but underneath it there's now going to be a black shadowing. So I did it for the off, for when the control is not selected. So I'm going to do the exact same thing for when it is selected. So I think I can just copy and paste. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy this line that I added, and I can go down to the create on bitmap, and I'm going to add that in above the text that I have here. Yeah, it looks like it's x22, x23, -1, 0. Yeah, so I think I'm good. So now all of them have this little bit of a shadowing text. If I don't want it to be above, if I want it to be below the text rather than above, then this would be 24 and +1, or just 1. Right, but I like it above, so that's what I'm going to do with that. So that makes the text pop out a little bit better. The other thing I can do is like I was saying before, is what if I want it to be, when I select the control, it has a different color than its default color. So I'm going to go to the on bitmap. I'm going to duplicate the line that's actually has the color that I selected as my text color. No. You know what? I'm gonna do it in the off. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this line that has where it prints that white text on top. I'm gonna duplicate it, and then I'm gonna keep a copy of it in reserve. So I'm gonna comment it out, and now I can edit this without worrying about messing up and not being able to get back to the way it was before. So this is going to be when it's off, the bitmap for when it's off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to be the white color. So in this line here, brush : equals GDIP brush create solid, I'm going to put some quotes, then 0x, oops, that's not a 0, that's an O, 0x FF, and then the color I want. So I'm going to hard code the white color, which is FF. 6 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I should have 8 Fs in total. I'm going to leave this one as the color that I specify up when I create the new instance of it. So what color do I want? I'm going to make yellow. I'm going to do yellow. So whenever I select a control, it's going to turn it to yellow, just like I had in my last project that I used on it. In other words, it's going to have the white that I hard coded just a second ago. So this is going to be FF 00, and I'm going to do that for all of them. So now, when I run it, only the one, if I select a thing, then the text changes as well. So if you want to do that, that's how you do it. And then when you're done, just revert it. When you use this in another script, just revert it, change it to whatever you want. Okay, I think that's it. So let's go into actually how we use it now. So I've shown how to add it in, how to change the colors, how to change the properties of it. Let's go into actually how to use it. So there's two, just like a regular radio control, there's two ways that you can use this. One is you can directly check the state of any radio button. So I can check if radio, like option set dot state is, I can check if this radio button here, if it has a state of 1 or 0. I can directly check to see if it has that. And let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, this is for when I press that button. So I'm going to say inside that button press, I'm going to say if options set 1, if options set 1, the first control in the group dot state equals 1. So this is virtually identical to what you would do with a normal radio button. So I'm just going to instead of checking the value of a variable, I'm checking the array, the object that's in the array, and the key that I'm looking at is the state. So if it's 1, then I'm going to change the background color for the GUI. Color equals 404040. Else if, to speed things up a bit, I'm just going to copy and paste. If the second radio in the group is selected, if the second radio button has a state of 1, then I'm going to change the background color to be white. And then last, else if the third thing in it has a state of 1, I'm going to change the background color to be black. Okay. So if it's the first one, it'll change the background color to be this. If it's the second one, it'll change it to white. If it's the third one, it'll change it to black. So it's virtually identical to the way you would use a normal radio button. So like I said, there's two ways that you can use it. One is by checking the state of any individual. The other way, and it's a little bit easier, is you can check anyone in the group. So even if the group's like 100 things long, you can check any one of them for the value, and the value will always be the number in your group that is currently selected. So I'm going to get rid of, actually, you know what, I'm just going to comment this out because I'll leave it for you to be able to look at. So I'll comment that out, and I'm going to pretend I'm starting from scratch. So I can do if, let me copy this because I'm a slow typer. If option set 1, and like I said, I can check any one of them. I can check one, since it has 3 in a group, I can check the first one, I can check the second one, or I can check the third one. It doesn't matter. I can check any one of them. I don't have to remember which one they are. I just have to put one of them in there, and I'm going to check, instead of checking its state, I'm going to check its value. If the first one's value, I'll just set it up exactly the way I had the other one, except I'm going to be using the value. So if the value is 1, that means that the first radio button is selected. If that's selected, then I'm going to change the background color to that color, and then I'll copy and paste. And else if, like I said, I can check, I'm going to check once again, I'm going to check the first one in the group, but I can check any of them, and I'm going to check to see if the value is 2. So is the second one selected? If it is, change the background color to be, here, let me get some new colors, FF00, and last I'll check if the value, since I already know that there's only 3 things in my group, I can just do else instead of typing out else if its value is 3. And this one I'll make aqua. Really, really ugly colors for the background. So this is, I can check any individual control to see if it has a state of 1 or 0, or I can use the value, and that gives me the number of the one that's currently selected. So if it's 1, it's going to keep the background color that color. If it's 2, it's going to be yellow, and if it's 3, it's aqua. Okay, so that's it. It's super easy. I know maybe it might look a little bit complicated because I talked about a lot of things, but it really is super easy. Try it out. If you want, you can go ahead and create another group. I'm just going to call this one set. I'm just going to call it set. Set, and it equals an empty array. I'm going to copy one of these things. And I'm going to say set colon equals a new radio button. I'm going to change its position to be 50. And I need to add the reference. The reference to that. And the highlight color I'll make red. FF0000. I'm going to duplicate a couple times. I'm going to make it so that way this time it's the second one that's selected. I'll make them all red. Background color stays the same. Window 1, blah blah blah. This is radio 2, radio 3, and this is going to be x plus equals 25. Oh yeah, this is supposed to be set 1, set 2, set 3. And there we go. Everything should be good right away. So now I have a second set. Alright, that's it. Everything that you see on the screen right now is going to be in the description. There'll be a link to a pastebin page, which I'll just go and paste this up to now, and then you can find this. So the steps are just add in a reference to the class, add in a reference to the GDIP library, start up GDIP, create your window, start adding in your radio buttons. When you're ready to use them, you can reference it by looking at the state of any individual control that you have and check out if its state is of 0 or a 1, or you can check out the value. You can check any control in the group for the value, and that'll tell you which control is currently selected. Alright, that's it. Peace, I'm out.